So hi again, welcome back. If you were here just moments ago, I had a terrible stream where this microphone was off and I didn't have this chat up, but now it's all fixed. We're also back to our old setup, and so I hope it still works. I didn't do anything different. I just plugged it back in and I'm crossing my fingers. But we made it through the loud computer phase of the stream, so it's going to do that again. Hopefully it doesn't crash. Please interact with me, though. This one will be a little bit more interactive because we're not here to talk about the stream. We're here to talk about listening and different types of listening. So you may already have an idea of what I mean. And I'm going to encourage you to think about different types of listening before I even begin. And while you're thinking about that, I want you to listen to me talk about Andrew Hitz, because he is a friend of mine and an excellent tuba player extraordinaire. And he helped me a ton. So if you've been coming to this channel for a while and looking at my videos, you may have noticed that my YouTube landing page sucks. But it doesn't anymore because Andrew told me about it and told me how to fix it as well in a direct message. And now we are a resource on the Brass Junkies podcast webpage, which is amazing and really a huge boon for our channel, and I don't know why they wanted to put me on there, but that was just the nicest thing. So thank you to them, in particular Andrew, for helping me make this channel look good. I hope the content has been good, but it didn't look like it. So anyway, now that you had a chance to think for a second about what kinds of listening you do, there are lots of different things that you can listen for, right? And you might be thinking more like in an ensemble context. So am I in tune with the people that I'm playing unisons with? Or when I'm in a chord, am I listening for the intonation, right? Am I listening to the articulation? Those are all very good things to listen for and match, right? And that's sort of an active listening in the moment. That's a reactive listening, if you will, that you're searching for it and then you're trying to match it. And but we can use that skill on our own and with something even better, which is our imagination, right? The listening that you do outside of practice. So in other words, I listen to a lot of Håkan Hardenberger and Phil Smith and Alison Balsam and Nicholas Eklund. And there's so many people. I mean, I listen to major orchestras. I also listen to a lot of jazz. I try to listen to all kinds of music. And so I listen to heavy metal and occasionally EDM and country and all kinds of different things, and try to absorb some valuable thing from them as well as enjoy them, right? So that's a different kind of listening. It's just what you're putting into your ears all the time, and that really matters. If you only put bad sounds into your ears, it's very easy for you to only imagine bad sounds coming out of your bell. So make sure you're feeding yourself really great sounds, and you should do that at the interval of about as much as you practice every day. So I haven't practiced very much today, but I have listened for about 45 minutes, which isn't a lot. So let's see if we can make this practice session fit within that time frame. I also I want to talk about, so that there's an imagination component to that, and we'll get into that. But then there's also just honestly listening to yourself on a recording. Now, I'm not going to be able to do that today because it doesn't make sense for our format, right? I don't want to scrub back and forth in the video and listen and have you listen, but I am going to ask you to do that. So this will be a little more interactive of a video than normal, and this kind of practice, it's very taxing to listen to yourself and really critique it. And I want you, when you do this on your own, to be really brutally honest. And listen with someone else's ears if you can, right? Sometimes quite literally, have someone else listen to your recording and tell you what they think. But also compare what you sound like, what your recordings sound like, to the people, to your ideal, to what's in your head, what's in your imagination. Does it actually match up to what you're imagining, what you're trying to accomplish? Does it match up to the people that you listen to? Now, of course, the answer is often going to be no, because if we ever actually achieve our goal, then we're not necessarily growing anymore, right? But how close can we come? And I see a lot of people on the internet really angry about maybe the way that an audition went for them, or adjudicator scores. I see that a lot, where they say, why did I get 40 out of 100 on this solo that I played? And sometimes they play it for me and I honestly don't know, but sometimes they play it for me and I say, well, there's a lot of things, you know, that maybe you're not noticing, right? So when you record yourself and listen back, you're going to get that benefit. of hearing external ears as a third person. You're not making the music at that point, you're just listening, but you should listen with really critical ears. If it's even a little bit out of tune, if that wasn't exactly the right timing, if that wasn't exactly the way you wanted to do it, then okay, then there's something to improve, right? And if you're not sure, then maybe you're not imagining hard enough, or maybe you're not listening to other recordings and getting those ideas in the first place, right? So there's all kinds of ways we can improve our listening. What we're going to do today is perhaps one of the hardest things for me to do on camera, which is really put myself out there and sound probably pretty bad. I'm still working on my dentition. If you were here a couple of weeks ago when I did my last stream, I talked a little bit about that. I don't want to talk about it much more than I did then, but I did want to clear something up because one of my former students who was on that stream didn't quite understand what I meant by dentition, and I think that it wasn't clear. It wasn't his fault, it was mine. So when I talk about dentition, I mean dental, as in teeth, right? And that's what I'm working on. I am altering my teeth. I can show you a little bit. These plastic pieces, they're actually acrylic resin. I make them myself, and I don't want to talk about it much more than that, except to say that they are for helping me play trumpet better, but it does take a lot more work, and you feel like you're a beginner again every time anything changes. So I am in that state of being, and it's not an excuse for my bad playing. It hopefully will not sound too bad, but it is a reason for me to really listen critically right now, because if I can do it, then I might be okay with the way that things are. But if I cannot do what is in my head, then I might need to make some alterations. And so that's why this is the topic today. And also because the people that I was just sort of mentioning, that I don't feel like they're being really critically honest with themselves when they post videos about their playing, and then they complain that they didn't win jobs. I can tell, you know, kind of what they need to work on, and it's not everybody. I'm not mentioning any names at all, but if you feel like that might be you, go back and listen to your videos. It's really gratifying to understand finally why something isn't working for you, right? Why you're going to these things and not progressing, not advancing to the next round, not getting a high score on your All-State, right? When you listen to it and you notice, oh, when I tongue, the pitch goes down, maybe, right? Well, that sounds pitchy to the people behind the screen or that are adjudicating you, and then you can fix that. And I think it's really satisfying to say, oh wow, I didn't hear that before. No wonder I wasn't doing well in competition, but now I can fix that. And if you do that over and over again, you'll fix virtually everything that anyone else can hear, and you'll still hear things because you'll be better and better at listening. And that's another thing we want to talk about. How can we even get better at listening than we already are right now? You might be in a place where you can tell if the right pitches are there or not. Okay, that's great. That's a great place to start. What about articulation? Can you tell if the articulations are all the same, if they're supposed to be? Can you make them all the same if you want them to be? Can you make them add up to something and arrive somewhere without them sounding totally different, right? These are nuanced things, right? And so we want to practice listening in this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to warm up a little bit. I'm going to do some mouthpiece things, but we're going to talk about listening to them and not just doing things. Just doing things doesn't get you very far usually. It gets you about halfway maybe, right? Physically, you're kind of doing some things, but the music is really all in that other half. So now, is mouthpiece buzzing, the most musical thing in the world? I mean, maybe it could be, right? So, oh, hello, Thomas. My stream is about 25 seconds ahead of where you're seeing it, so I'm sorry if I'm a little late. This is one of my hopefully future students, and so please ask any questions you want to, and I am going to see you tomorrow for your audition. But okay, so let's get right into it. And what I like to do is listening we can do a lot of different ways. I can listen to I can record myself and listen back, and that's what I'm encouraging you to do. I'm going to try to do that live, but as I do some things today, I want you to go back, and I'll talk about, right after I play something, I'll tell you to go back and listen to it again and see what you can hear. But right after that, I'm going to tell you what I heard. And it won't be as good as if I went back and listened to it, but I'm pretty good at active listening while I'm playing. There's a concept called the third ear by Gunther Schuller, and that is the idea that you have an idea up here. That's your first ear. The first one is your imagination. Then your second ear is what you actually hear. You know, what's happening in the room? Is it in tune or whatever, right? That's what you hear for real. And then your third ear compares the two. And so I've been practicing this way for a long, long time, and I'm getting pretty good at the second ear and the third ear, but I've still got a lot of work to do on my first ear. I still need better things to imagine. And so, but anyway, we can talk about playing with drones. We can talk about playing with like a duet with other people. But today I'm going to play some basic warm-up things. We're going to critique them really carefully, and you're going to think, man, this guy really sucks. He can't even buzz in tune. Well, that's true. That's really true. But I've been working on it, and I'm going to get better at it, and you can too. So I'm going to turn my tuner on, and this is an old school tuner. I would use my phone, but it's over there, and I don't want to get distracted if anybody calls me. But at first, we're just going to use the drone. A nice A, right? And if we know that's an A, then we can use it to buzz against. I like to buzz octaves of C, like a scale, and so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to listen for the sound. I might just get it to start and then do it. So relative to that, that's A, right? And we're going to start on C. If you have trouble with intervals, it's a good time to work on them in your warm-up with buzzing. Da, da, da. So, and we're going to start on our tuba mouthpiece. We love that, right? And so let's listen to the buzz. I'm going to leave this microphone on so we can hear really carefully. And I'm listening for the tail right now. And so this is more that second thing. Listen and compare to the ideal, right? I don't need to have a super great imagination to imagine what a concise and focused buzz sounds like. But I'm also maybe going to experiment a little bit, and I also am trying to do something physical, right? So it's okay if it doesn't sound perfect at first, but I need to notice and I need to correct, and I need to get to that perfect version as quickly as possible and then ingrain it, right? So, da was our A, and then this is C. So already you can hear, at first I was getting kind of a double, like a right? I had to try to quash that with better airflow to start. If I didn't have a very good quality of exhale, right? So I was getting, right? Because it was trying to start and then it ran out of energy. So I upped the energy a little bit. I put a little more air, but it was more focused. Then I noticed that I was just stopping the note instead of releasing the note. But then when I started to release the note right after that, the pitch goes up at the end now. So after I've said all those things, rewind and see if you can hear all those things. It's only about 30 seconds ago. And then you can fast forward to this part where I'm going to try to correct them. Okay? So, yeah, good. I'm still there. Not perfect, but it's getting a little better. And since I don't play tuba mouthpiece professionally, I'm going to move on, having made some progress, and I'll remember that. In fact, I'll write it down. Well, I don't know how to write that down. I guess I'll watch the stream later, and then I'll do my journal. A journal is perfect for this because you can start to talk to yourself about what things are going well and what things tend to go poorly, but only if you hear them. Okay? So, here we go with the trombone mouthpiece. And I want you to listen. Tell me what you hear. If you're in the chat, tell me what you hear like live, right? But try to be able to talk about what you already hear before I tell you what I heard. Okay? So I'm hearing a little bit of unevenness in tone where I'm just kind of struggling to make sure that the vibration stays happening while I'm getting softer to sort of make a tail on the note. But I'm mostly holding the pitch down. It kind of cracks up in the middle. And I think if I was actually playing a long instrument, I could probably control that a little better. But I'm not positive on that. So I'm going to do a couple of other notes on this, right? And let's maybe keep the sound on this time. Oh, that's a great idea. Husky Huskies tells me that if I ever want to timestamp notes in my streams, I can leave a comment, and it leaves the note and the timestamp so that I can listen back. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Will it do that on YouTube as well if I am using Restream? I know that you might not know that at all. I don't know why you would, but watching other YouTubers do other kinds of things, it seems like people in the comments always know a billion times more than the actual YouTuber, and I am definitely that YouTuber that doesn't know as much as the people in his comments. So let me know if you know the answer to that. But okay, so I'm going to try some other notes, and I'm also going to keep the drone on, and that way I have something to really listen to the pitch against. I can just try to maintain a pitch, but if I can figure out how to do it against another pitch, then I can learn what it feels like and what kinds of things I need to do, right? So let's try that. So a little bit hard to control, but again, I'm not a professional trombone mouthpiece artist. So we're going to skip over to, let's see, how about the hootin' out? Excuse me, I should call it by its proper name, the embouchure. But this is a Tom Hooten device. We've talked about it before on the stream. It's amazing. And I think it's going to change the world of embouchure. But we're going to use this, excuse me, to try to get a little bit better concentric buzz. And I feel like that's my problem right now. I'm a little too spread open, so I'm getting different vibrations at different times. I don't know. We'll try it out, right? So I think we're doing a little bit better on the regular trumpet rim, and the hootin' out definitely helped us find a different kind of positioning for our lips, what I call an embouchure posture, and we only used it a little bit, right? This is not the video that's explicitly about that. So okay, so let's play some actual trumpet, right? I want to play some things. By the way, thank you, Husky Huskies, for filling in the rest of that comment. If you're wondering and watching, we're not sure about YouTube, but we know that Twitch works that way, and then I can just watch my Twitch VOD, right? And then I can have both open and just like do it, right? So thank you for that. That's amazing. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't know what I would even write in the chat or rather what I would want timestamped. But when I plan videos in the future, I will plan when to timestamp them, and that's going to be amazing. So thank you. So let's just do some basic trumpet playing, right? Let's start with the easiest stuff to hear. And I hope you're still going back and sort of scrubbing backwards a couple of seconds and saying, yeah, okay, I can hear what he's talking about. Or, oh, I hear a bunch more stuff, Gabriel. You're not a very good trumpet player after all. And that, you're right. I'm not. If I'm honest, most of us are not that good at any of this stuff. That's why we're talking about it, right? And I may not be an amazing note finisher in the next week. But if I keep working on it and keep working on it and keep working on it, over time I get better and I don't even know it. But then I have the ability maybe someday in the future to do a beautiful note that finishes perfectly in tune, and somebody's going to go, wow, how did he do that? Well, yeah, it took maybe 10 years of working on it or more. And it needs to be consistent work that I'm listening to, right? And listening for. If I don't have that dream in the first place, I'm not going to get that by accident. So, okay. Now let's talk about imagination, because we're playing the actual trumpet now, and I kind of have an idea of what I want to sound like on this thing. So where does that idea come from? Well, it comes from my favorite trumpet players, first and foremost, right? My dad, obviously, somebody that I grew up listening to, who's one of the greatest trumpet players who ever lived, and is still alive, by the way. Doc Severinsen, also my godfather, one of the greatest trumpet players who is also still alive. Then Håkan Hardenberger, one of my favorites. I think most of all these people so far. Maurice Andre, unfortunately not alive still, but one of my favorites as well. There are so many to name, but I want to think about, as I'm about to play, I have Charlier number 1 in front of me, which is the same in both of the Charlier books. It's still the same number 1. And so I'm going to play that eventually. But so maybe I'll start with the tone of one of my favorite trumpet players, or a combination of some of them, playing Charlier number 1. So let's say I want Maurice Andre and Håkan Hardenberger. Man, what a combo that would be, right? Okay, so I'm going to imagine them playing Charlier number 1, and all I'm going to play is long tones now. But I want to imagine their sound first. Okay, so let me do that, and you can do that as well. If you don't remember, Charlier 1 is the one that goes right. That's that one. So imagine with me for a moment Håkan Hardenberger and Maurice Andre merge together playing Charlier 1. And if you don't know Charlier 1, or if you don't know who those people are, fine. Choose your own people and your own piece, right? That's what you're supposed to do. But just imagine them playing that piece, okay? Not great video, I know, but I have to take this time to really get that in my head. Okay, so now, can I play a long tone like that? Let's find out. Wasn't a super long tone because I felt like it was a little bit shaky in a way that Håkan and Maurice would never be, right? But it was okay. It was kind of the right area of tone. But I cut myself off because I want to do us one better. So we've imagined a sound, and I might try 2 or 3 times to get that imagined sound, right, to come out, and I have to demand it, right? But before we do all that, again, I need to really use my imagination because it's powerful. The imagination is something that if you don't use it as often as you did when you were maybe younger, or maybe you just you don't have an opportunity to do a lot that requires imagination, well, it's powerful. It can do amazing things, and so in this case, it can multiply our idea of the sound of Maurice Andre and Håkan Hardenberger. We're already using it to merge those two people, right? But we're also going to use it to multiply them by 10 or 100, right? Can you imagine that sound times 10? And then just take time to do that. Audiate that experience. Okay, now, can we try it again? And now we're just going to try to match that sound, but we're going to demand that is the sound that's going to come out of our bell, right? Now, it's okay if I don't get 100%. of what I demand, right? I'm demanding a lot here, but I have to try it that way because I have to expect that it might really happen. Otherwise, it's definitely not going to. So I'm going to demand that 10 times Håkan Hardenberger and Maurice Andre combined come out of my bell. Now it was better, it was louder for sure, and it was a little shakier too. But okay, I'm getting somewhere, right? Let's see if we can imagine Maurice Andre and Håkan Hardenberger times 10 doing some slow lip slurs. So you might be saying to yourself, well, Gabriel, you don't really sound like Maurice Andre or Håkan Hardenberger. Oh, that's true. I don't. In fact, I'm not really achieving 100% of my goal, even close. I'm getting, let's say, 2% of my goal. But it's a better sound than I would have gotten otherwise. And it's close to my ideals, right? So I might not sound like Håkan Hardenberger right now. I've never heard Håkan Hardenberger do violin. I don't know. But I'm practicing the act of demanding the sound I imagined. And that's what's important here, right? So not only am I practicing fundamentals, I'm practicing the way that I want to play the trumpet mentally, right? That's what's happening here. And so it's imagination and demand. And we're going to do this over and over again. And then we're going to listen and compare the sound that we actually get to the ideal. So I have to keep that in my memory. And then we're going to learn to listen better and be honest about it, right? So let me play a couple of more little warmy-uppy kinds of things. And then we will play some Charlier, and maybe we'll get into some other things as well. So now listen back to some of that. Did you notice that sometimes I didn't get the bottom notes, especially the lowest ones, right? Sometimes they just didn't come out, and I just did a kind of lip bend on the slot that I was already on. Did you notice just in the last one there that there was one note where the pitch just absolutely dropped off as I was going to the next note down. I didn't hold the pitch and then do a lip slur. I bent the pitch, and I didn't mean to do that. It just was a thing that happened, right? But I was really focused on, like, I'm breathing and my turnaround is Håkan. I'm breathing and my turnaround is Maurice Andre, right? Times 10. And so I was focused on that. I wasn't really worried about my lip. Now I will warn you, this method does wear you out because, well, guess what? You'll do anything to sound like them. But you can also add in the imaginative, imagined, that's what I need, the imagined ease of playing that those players must have. Now, you don't know what it's like to play like them, and even if you have heard them talk about it, it doesn't matter. If you think about how easy it might be, then you can imagine that and you can amplify that feeling as well, and then you can tie those things together so that you can imagine that it must be this easy to sound this good, and then you can demand that. That's a little outside of the scope of this listening video, but it is what I recommend. So, okay, let's play some Charlier. And we're going to be pretty serious here about this one. Let me get my stand up a little higher so I can actually see all of the notes. Uh-oh. I've jammed it into a corner, you guys. Okay, it's kind of out of the corner now. Ugh, boy. All right. So there we go. So I can see enough of it, I think, to play it. I can probably play it from memory by now, honestly. But now we're going to apply our practice techniques. I haven't looked at this in a long time, so I'm not going to guarantee that it's going to go super well, right, like from the get-go. But I'm going to imagine my best sound, this ideal of Håkan Hardenberger and Maurice Andre in this case, times 10 or times 100, if you can imagine that far. I'm going to stick with times 10 right now because I'm only getting 2% of that, and I don't want to find out that I'm only getting 0.2% of the other one. So, although that's not a bad idea, maybe I will try for 100. Maybe I'll get 0.3%, and that'd be great. But I'm also going to do that when I'm going slowly, if I need to, right? If I go in chunks, I'm going to use that imagination, and I'm going to listen, and I'm going to compare to the ideal. And you can actually listen back and see what went wrong and see what you can hear. And so, like I said before, I will encourage you to do that when the time comes. And then we're going to listen better. We're going to learn to listen for even more stuff. And we'll talk about how to do that. But so here's a little bit of Charlier. I'm not even going to play into the key change, I don't think, because I'm going to get stopped out in the real nasty technical section, I'm sure, before then. But we'll see how far we get, right? Okay, so that's a good amount. Now, what did you notice? I'll give you a second to write it down or think about it or just say it to the camera, to say it to the computer, I suppose. I heard right away, I felt really pretty good about the poppy bounciness I was getting. And as soon as I said, wow, Gabriel, you're doing pretty good on the articulation, I noticed I was rushing. And I was like, oh no, well, I don't want to do that. And then I thought, well, don't slow down now because that's just as bad. And that's not part of your imagined ideal, right? So keep going. So I was using my ideal and my third ear, my comparison, to analyze on the fly and rev back up the demand, right? That's what we want to start to get good at. But, okay, back to analysis. I thought my accents were a little aggressive. And I wasn't intending to do that. I just didn't want to miss them. I didn't want you to think there weren't accents there. And I got a little bit carried away, I think. Let's see. I also kind of aggressively refused to give up time for the breath marks. And I'm actually happy with that, except that I did still give up a little bit on, I think, on the second one. Or maybe even cheated time a little bit. I'm not sure what happened there. That one I'd have to listen back for. Okay, so what else is... I fumbled fingers in one spot a little bit. Well, okay, that's easy to hear, but still something we need to address. And I don't feel like I did a lot of really great forward motion in terms of musical arrivals in the pianos. I felt like I was pretty okay at it as long as it was loud enough, but when I got into the piano, I didn't feel like I could play softly enough with enough nuance. So we're going to address all of those things, and it's going to get worse, not better, trust me. It's hard to do these things, right? So I'm going to start with that one I just said. When it gets soft, I want more musicality towards the arrivals, and I don't want to bash those accents so hard. So we're going to start in that section. We're going to go slowly, and I'm going to try to imagine, rev up, demand, and then we'll see what happens. So I'm cheating a little bit. I'm acting out my arrivals for you on camera so that you think you hear them better, but I'm not sure that I'm really doing that in the room. Again, I'll have to listen back. These microphones that I'm using, these AKG 414 originals, are amazing at picking up a lot of detail. And so if I go back and listen to this, even on YouTube with headphones, I will be able to hear if there's anything nuanced and musical going on, or if it's just pecking out notes quietly and moving. And I'll just turn it away. I don't need to see myself do it to know if I'm arriving well. So we'll leave that for now. I do think that it's just not happening. I'm acting it out, and I'm trying. That sometimes helps you actually do it. But I also am. I'm just not feeling like I have the color control. So okay, so let's address that. And again, we're going to keep our ears on. Now, instead of demand of my full sound, I'm demanding the control of my sound at a soft dynamic, and we're going to notice that there's going to be some pitch problems. So I'm just going to turn my tuner onto tuning mode, right? There it is. And I can't show it to you at the same time as me, but trust me when I tell you that it's out of tune, because it will be. Okay, so that was better than I thought. And again, I was using my eyes on the tuner. It wasn't actually as bad as I thought. It was still very sharp. This new teeth, man, I tell you, all kinds of wackiness. But that was better than I imagined. Now, I only did it slowly, and I had time to correct things, right? But did you notice some things in there, right? The ability to control the color independent of the pitch is very important. And it took me a little while to get it, right? It was very pitchy at first, and then I eventually kind of ironed that out. But then even as I had it ironed out, I thought if I changed notes, sometimes the note just didn't speak, or sometimes it was still sharp or flat, and sometimes a random different color. There's still a lot of work to be done in there. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if we can do it a little faster, and then we'll keep going. So there's some okay playing happening now, but did you notice like sometimes my fingerings are uneven in timing? That's really not acceptable, right? I can't just let it go that my fingerings are sometimes not on time because it doesn't say to have uneven 6/8 notes, right? Now there's a lot of good stuff that I'm doing, and I'm glossing over that because this is about listening critically. This is about really being honest about the things that are happening. So I can be honest about the good things too, and you should do that. You absolutely should appreciate the things that you are doing well. But I'm also not going to improve on those right now. That's not the most critical aspect of my playing that needs work, right? So don't dwell on them, but do appreciate them. So let's work on our timing, right? How about we use a metronome for this? And I need a fast, beat. How about 180? These are now eighth notes for me. And I'm just going to really slam down the fingers, and I'm going to sing. Why singing? because this is a timing issue with my fingers first. Then I need to make it a timing thing that I connect to my trumpet playing. But my fingers are already bad. I don't need to play the trumpet more and more with bad fingers. Okay? So here we go. See me rushing right away? There's a metronome on, and I'm still rushing. So let's see, get the right pitch. Okay, now can I play it with the metronome that fast? I will also admit, it takes an immense amount of concentration to do this. And so if you don't feel mentally exhausted at some point during your practice session, you're probably not making a lot of this kind of progress. You might be learning the notes, and you might be getting the style, and you might be getting it under your belt like just let me just play pictures 1,000 times until it's just autopilot. That's totally fine. But if you're in the weeds like this, it's expensive mentally. Okay. Okay, so I might normally want to do that a few more times because I didn't notice anything that time through. I was concentrating, and this is exactly my point. I'm not going to catch everything while I'm doing it. Even when you're practiced at doing that and adjusting, you're going to catch most of it listening back to the tape, which I do every stream. I listen back to the entire tape almost immediately after the stream, partially just to check the sound and make sure I didn't do anything dumb, partially to check the video to make sure that it actually syncs up and I don't have to adjust my OBS settings. And then partially just because this is the time that I record myself every week. And I don't always do it, you might notice, but I do always record myself. I use my cell phone wherever it went, and I'll record a little something and I'll listen back to it. And you know, sometimes it's depressing and sometimes it's validating, and sometimes I want to send it to people, and sometimes I want to hide it from the world, but it's really important to do. So, all right. Let me try to play this whole passage again. We're just going to do this a little bit, and then we'll talk about learning to listen a little bit better, okay? Oh, maybe I won't. Maybe we'll talk about it now. So you might be saying, well, yeah, I hear some of these things, Gabriel. I don't hear all of them. You know, how can I improve my listening? How can I improve my valves? Well, it would be with valve oil, if I had any. There it is. This is going to sound dumb, but how to improve your listening? To get better at listening, you listen. You just listen. It's just like patience. If you practice it, you get better at it. And you just have to use it. You use it up until it's gone, and then you try to go a little bit further than that. And when it's gone, and you know you push yourself to the limit, and then you rest. And then the next day, you've got all you had yesterday plus that little bit you pushed, and you use that up and push a little more, right? So what does that mean in the world? That's patience, right? What does that mean in the world of listening? Well, you listen more carefully. You listen to explicit things like articulation. Can I hear exactly how Håkan Hardenberger articulates in that, oh gosh, what is that piece that goes... I couldn't quite, at my bottom anchor point dropped out and I couldn't get his vibrato right and it got all fuzzy on me. But whatever it is, can I hear that articulation on the record? And if you compare what I did with what he did on the record, I'm getting as close as I can physically get right now, because that's all I can hear in my head. It's screaming loud, okay? So you can get closer, you can get better, but you also just have to listen a lot. You have to get beyond that point where you're like, oh my God, Håkan Hardenberger playing, what is that, Slavonic Fantasy, maybe? Where you're just like, oh my gosh, you know, fangirling over it, or just amazed by it so much that you just, you know, it should be inspirational, and you should use that energy while it lasts, and it might last forever, like it does for me on some of my favorite recordings. But then there's more, right? And so, can you listen past that amazement, and can you hear his tongue position, right? Can you hear the height of his tongue position? That's something that I thought, when one of my teachers told me that he could do that, I was like, that's not real. And then, lo and behold, you listen to it 100 times, and yeah, you start running out of new things to hear, and so you start hearing those things that you couldn't before, right? So just listen a lot, and listen to high fidelity, great, lossless audio captured recordings. The recording matters, the listening device, and the format, the file format, all matter immensely. So my listening library is all on, it used to be MP3s, but they were very high quality. Those aren't lossless, but they were the best we could do at the time. Now everything is AAC lossless level, or Apple lossless. Actually, AAC I think is lossy too, but I think I do everything Apple lossless now. I have boxes of CDs that I need to put on there, but and then I also use good headphones. These you can't really see them, I don't think. Well, hold on, let me see what you can see. No, you can't see anything. Let me see if I can get these out. Yeah, these are my Grado, what are these, SR325s. These are amazing for trumpet listening specifically, because they have a lot of high end, and the trumpet lives in the high end. It starts where high end is on headphones, or at least mid-range, but it's got a really cranked high end, so you can hear a lot of trumpet detail on these Grado headphones. They are, however, very expensive. And then I have these AKG K701s. The Quincy Jones version of these is the 702, I think. But these were made for him originally, I think. Quincy Jones, amazing music producer, right? Not necessarily trumpet records, but these are extremely even and very comfortable. And so if I have long listening sessions, I use these. Also very expensive, but worth every penny. But you can just get some regular Grado SR60s. They are almost as good as those two headphones, and in some ways better, and they are way less money. And then there's some in-ear monitors that are very cheap, but don't get anything like Beats by Dr. Dre or anything like that. Those are fashion items and not so much audiophile items. They can sound fine, but you won't hear Håkan Hardenberger's articulation very well. So let's play this one last time, and then we'll kind of end the stream unless anybody has anything to say. I shouldn't have gone on that long, but you really got to practice that second section. But it was okay, right? And I made a bad mistake in the section we did practice, but if you recall, we did not go back to fix that bobbled fingering, and it was the same spot, I bet. I will go back and listen as well, but I bet you could have predicted it, that, hey, guess what? You didn't quite nail that fingering the first time, so you're going to absolutely not get it at all the second time, right? So anyway, that has been the stream. I appreciate you being here. I hope you learned something about listening. Strive to be a better listener, but the most important thing that you can do is use your imagination to amplify the sounds that you want to make and then demand that they come out of your bell. Don't ask, is this a good sound? Say, this is my good sound. And you're still going to hear that it's not quite what you ordered, but then you can adjust. You can order more. You can order it better, right? So thank you so much for being here, and I guess I'll see you next time. Happy listening.